And we are live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope everybody is well. Happy Tuesday. This is kind of our hump day, right? Oh, we just went live as soon as I drank it. Good morning, Karen. You are first again. Congratulations. Well done. What's up, Tom Brady? Yes, Bernie did just announce, and of course we're going to talk about it. What's up, Uriel? Ariel, did I say that right? What's up, Ahmed? What's up, Aline? What's up, Edwin? What's up, Statutory? What's up, August? What's up, Ahmed? What's up, Joshua? What's up, Kaline? What's up, Nathalia? What's up, Susan Brown? What's up, Rebel? Bernie Sanders announced. What's up, Over the Road Trucker? Good to see you. What's up, Chris? It's been a minute. Good to see you. What's up, Broken Carpenter? What's up, Emos? What's up, Emmy? And we are at 30 already. According to Emos, I'll take your word for it. Because my thing is loading very slow. What's up, Polish Hammer? What's up, Karen? I already said hi to you. What's up, Jonna? How are you? What's up, Alex? Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, or good day. You know, we'll keep it simple. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys send me articles, you send me ideas. That's how we build this show. We're getting our news on together because it's better as a community. Guys, I almost canceled the show today because I just thought there's nothing for us to talk about. I mean, what? I can't think of anything that's going on in the news today. I don't know, like, what's happening? What a slow news day, right? Is there anything going on? Bernie announced. We knew it was going to happen. Bernie announced. They're already smearing him. They are already smearing him, but let's just dive into it. And, of course, we're going to have some election talk today. We had some election talk yesterday. We were kind of talking about optics and the whole Tulsi Prez Bernie VP versus Bernie Prez Tulsi VP. It's an interesting conversation to have. There's best cases on both sides. But I mean, I will say this on the short term. I think the sooner they team up, the better. I do feel that way. And, you know, like I said, I do think Tulsi Prez, Bernie VP would be a little better optics-wise. But either way, I'm fine with that. You know, obviously, if it's the other way around, if it's Bernie Prez, Tulsi VP, that's fine, too. I mean, like, I support it either way. So, anyway, let's dive into this, guys, because Bernie announced today, and we're going to talk about it. And there's a lot to talk about. So here is an initial article that happened here. Boom. Bernie Sanders launches 2020 presidential campaign, no longer an underdog. This is from Nice Polite Republicans, also known as NPR. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont is giving it another go, launching a second campaign for the White House 4 years after surprising Democrats with a strong bid for the party's 2016 nomination. We begin the political revolution in the 2016 campaign, and now it's time to move that revolution forward. But this 2020 bid will undoubtedly be a very different presidential campaign than his quest as the underdog in 2016. Sanders enters the race with a top contender who, along with former... Wait, who are these people? Everybody keeps mentioning Joe Biden is one of the top contenders. And it's like, where are they getting... First of all, he hasn't announced yet. Second of all, I don't know anybody. Like, where are these people excited for Joe Biden? Like, where are they? I don't see them on the blogosphere anywhere. And I'm not even saying that to like, I don't entertain this fantasy that there aren't support for centrist candidates out there. I know there are. Centrist. We should call them what they are. Conservative candidates. I know that people support Kamala Harris. I don't entertain some fantasy that nobody out there supports her. People do, because she has some cool t-shirts. I know there's people out there that like Cory Booker. I know, but I haven't seen anyone that's like, Joe Biden, that's the guy. Like, I haven't seen it at all. And we're going to go back to the chat in a little bit. Please let me know if you have. And I'm just like, I haven't seen anything about it. But every corporate media, they're like, yeah, he's one of the front runners. But according to what? According to people that pick up their landline still, that only watch cable news because they don't realize there's choices, and they respond to leading questions such as, Joe Biden will probably be president in 2020. Would you vote for him if that's the case? And they were like, yeah, I guess I don't like Trump. Biden, front runner. That's got to be how they conduct these things. Anyway, back to this. All right. So, Sanders is a top contender, according to everything that's out there on the blogosphere and everything else, and the movement that he started building in well, he didn't start it, but he put gasoline on the fire, big time. He put a huge spark under the progressive movement. You know why? Because he made us realize we weren't alone. He made us realize there were a lot more of us than we realized. That's what Bernie Sanders did. And then Joe Biden, according to these landline phone calls to people that get these leading bullshit questions. I think that's the only way. It's a sharp contrast. Okay, yeah. All right. In the years since his loss to Clinton, where he was cheated, Sanders has remained a national leader of the Democratic Party, though he still refuses to join. I love that. I really do. I think we have had real success in moving the ideology of the Democratic Party to be a pro-worker party to stand up to the billionaire class. We've got a long way to go. Very true. A very long way to go. And it's a shame they're not already this. This is what they're supposed to already be. But we all know they're not. Many of the issues he has promoted for years, most notably a Medicare for all national health care plan and a $15 hour minimum wage, have shifted from the party's fringe to its mainstream and are now seen as effective litmus tests for presidential candidates. Indeed, Sanders' most recent Medicare for All bill was co-sponsored by Kamala Harris, who has since distanced herself from it, Kristen Gillibrand, who will ask Wall Street's permission where she stands on that, Cory Booker, who will probably stab it in the back first chance he gets, just like he did with the drug bill, and Elizabeth Warren, who has done some good things, some not so good things, and most importantly, I don't think she would beat Trump. The Senate's other presidential candidate, Amy Klobuchar. By the way, man, how about that town hall? I didn't actually watch it. I just saw some of the segments from it, and I saw some of the quotes, the people. She just got up there and said, we can't have nice stuff ever. No. Green New Deal sounds nice, but how are we going to afford that? I don't know. How are we going to afford the end of our stay here on this planet, Amy? How are we going to afford that? And then the media spun it like she's not afraid to say no. She's not afraid to tell us we can't have what countries poorer than us take for granted. She's not afraid to do that. Like what? Man, who was inspired by that? Apparently some people at CNN. That's it. People that work for CNN that know someone like her will protect their tax bracket. They're inspired by that. Yeah, way to tell us. Hey guys, vote for me. Here's all the things I'm not going to do because we can't have it. Vote for me. Here's all. No, we can't. That should be her. That should be her. So here, this should just be her. I'm trying to cover up everything except for the word no on my shirt. That should just be her. Amy Klobuchar. No. I don't think so. Amy Klobuchar. That's what I think to her candidacy. No. No, thank you. Do you want a Green New Deal, Amy? No, thank you. Should we get Medicare for all? No, thank you. Should we get free college? No, thank you. Here's what I say to your candidacy then. No, thank you. No, thank you, Amy. All right. So, all right. This article sucks, so let's move on anyway. But here's something I wanted to point out, because they're already smearing him. And, I realize we don't need the volume for this. Because it's not important. I realize this is not the most flattering image of Bernie that I happen to pause it on. I apologize for that. But, whatever. What are you going to do? I want us... It's like he's saying, like, Medicare for all. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can have it. Oh, watch me. Oh, watch me. And he's shaking his head. All right, anyway, let's watch this. This is from the Huffington Post. And notice, a lot of people not a fan. This is not a very good like-to-dislike ratio. Because they're already smearing him. They're already smearing him. And here. All right, so this is Bernie Sanders. He's saying, I'm asking you to be part of an unprecedented grassroots campaign. Bernie is back. Oh, and by the way, they're playing like sad violin music. Senator Bernie Sanders has announced he is running for president again. Together, we can defeat Trump and repair the damage he has done to our country. Brothers and sisters, if we stand together, there is no limit to what we can accomplish. I hope you'll join me. So here we go. Sanders has recently fallen under scrutiny following reports of sexual harassment within his 2016 campaign team. There were also reports of harassment in the Clinton campaign. Not only did the Clinton campaign do absolutely nothing about it, they tried to silence those who were talking about it, and they promoted the person who was allegedly responsible. Let's get back to this. Multiple misconduct allegations were reportedly ignored by campaign staff. Sanders has since apologized. And he did. He said, hey, apparently this happened in our campaign. It's not okay. It's not appropriate. Look at the title of this, by the way. Bernie Sanders to run for president in 2020. And this is all they focused on. So he's saying this is not what any campaign should be about. He's reportedly looking to hire more people of color to ensure his 2020 effort. Leading up to Sanders' 2020 decision, a Vermont newspaper urged him not to run. That is an unfavorable opinion, especially among most Vermonters and progressives who support the platform that has come to define him. Part of the paper's biggest problem with Sanders is that he never talks to... Hold on. Reporters from his home state. Instead, it says he favors national media and TV shows. The Times also doesn't think Sanders could unite the Democratic Party. Rather, his 2020 run would split the vote, giving President Donald Trump a path to realize. So they're already smearing him. They're already... Sanders' age, there we go. There it is. 77-year-old will almost be 80 by the time he runs for office. No one ever brings up Joe Biden's age. No one ever. And he'll be competing against younger, diverse candidates for the Democratic nomination. Except according to them, the front runner is Joe Biden. So there you have it. They're already smearing him in full force. And this will continue. They're going to do everything they can. The Democratic establishment. They're going to do everything they can to make sure neither Bernie Sanders nor Tulsi Gabbard makes it out of the primary. That's what they're going to do. That's just the reality of what we're going to have to deal with. And again, I think the reason I want those two to pair up is because I think them as a joint ticket would be so big that they can't ignore it and they can't stifle it. It'll just be too big. There'll be too many people. They won't be able to stop it. The oligarchy won't be able to stop it. And that's kind of where I'm at. Well, what do you guys think? Are you guys stoked? Are you inspired? Are you nervous? Are you a little bit of everything? Are you a lot of bit of nothing? Statutory says, if the MSM wasn't smearing Bernie, I'd be afraid. That's a good point. Jason says, the frauds that are the DNC and HRC should all be charged under RICO. Shannon stoked. Darren says, if we don't have POTUS, Sanders, VP Nina Turner, or Tulsi as Secretary of State, then we will have lost. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be it's got to be one of them. And I love Nina Turner. I don't know if she has any interest in jumping in. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. I don't know. If she does, I'm stoked to hear from her. If she doesn't, I say wait until she's ready. Chris also says Nina Turner is a better VP. She's no nonsense and has worked with Bernie closely since 2016. Does she have any interest in the gig, though? And maybe that's what she's holding out for. I don't know. Janai says, I'd love to see Bernie, Nina, and Tulsi as Secretary of State. Yeah, I'd take that. I would totally take that. Troxney's Refuge recommends Hillary Clinton as VP. If Bernie really wants to make sure he loses, that's a good idea. Ron, we need to be ready for the DNC rigging. I agree. That's why we have to be so big they can't ignore us. We have to be so big they can't ignore us. That's why I say get the heaviest hitters, put them right next to each other. Let's see. The propaganda will be bigly, but Bernie is the OG of progressivism. He's in electoral politics, he certainly is. And then other people are echoing, yeah, they never bring up the age when it comes to Biden. They never bring up age when it comes to Biden. Darren says, I hope Lucy is ready for Bernie. Oh, she is. She's been ready. She has been ready. Lucy actually, most animals support the Green Party simply because it's called the Green Party. So, you know, they kind of feel like that party has their best interests at heart. So most animals do support the Green Party, except for roaches are libertarians. Coyotes are mostly socialists, you know, because they travel in packs. And Lucy's just kind of part of the revolution. She likes Bernie. She very much does support Bernie. Yeah, and she's also, you know, Jill Stein fan. You know, she kind of... And Chet's mom brings up, aren't most animals colorblind? Yes, but still, they they support the Green Party. Susan talks about how they only talk about Bernie's age. Well, before we get off the topic of the smears that are already out there, we're going to go to another epic smear piece. And this one, wow, this is great. And there was one comment I also wanted to mention here. And Pam Ryan brings up the analogy, the exact same thing is happening to Corbyn in the UK, which is very true. But Corbyn, because you guys have a more honest electoral system than we do in the United States, I'm not saying it's perfect, I know it isn't, but it's better than what we got in the United States. Because of that, Corbyn is making more strides than Bernie Sanders is able to right now in the United States, because you guys have a more honest process than we do. Not saying it's perfect, I know it's not, but compared to what we got, hell of a lot better. Damn it, there was a comment I wanted to bring up and I can't. Oh, John also says, no one brings up Nancy Pelosi's age either. They only do it to Bernie. They only do it to Bernie. And that is true. That is true. And somebody says, roaches have more policy ideas than Kamala Harris. That's probably true. Also, probably true. All right, guys. So, check this out. This is pretty interesting here. We're talking about some of the smears that are already out there. This is from Washington Times. Prominent pro-Sanders subreddit Way of the Burn compared to foreign trolling operation. I know the margins are kind of fucked up on this article. Something appears fishy with Way of the Burn, a prominent Reddit page dedicated to advancing the prospects of Bernie Sanders. This is the second largest Sanders fan page, exposing its 24,000 members to the same pro-Moscow and American dissension stories associated with other fringe sites and suspect social media accounts. Say experts who have studied the page. Who are these experts? Gee, I don't know. I wonder if they tell us. I bet they don't. I consider it extremely suspicious, said Josh Russell, a prominent analyst on social media politics who tweets about it as Josh Emerson. Mr. Russell thinks it's more likely that Way of the Burn is a false flag run by alt-right people than Russia, although he said the patterns of the post are quite similar. I don't think these people give a rat's ass about Bernie Sanders. This is designed to divide Democrats. Reddit is a massive online message board with more than 1 million forums or subreddits dedicated to it. All right, so they're telling us what Reddit is. So they're saying that this Bernie Sanders subreddit is eerily similar to Russian disinformation. It is either run... All right, so I know the people involved with that subreddit. I know them. They're not Russian trolls. They're not alt-right. They're as far from alt-right as you can get. They're progressives. They're progressives who believe in the movement that Bernie really lit a fire under. And a lot of them I met at the Convergence Conference, which was the Convergence Conference to draft Bernie to start a new party. Because we saw the corruption of the Democratic Party as being too severe to fix, nor does it have any interest in being fixed. And decided that electorally, starting a brand new party, that the time was right for it. I believed that then, and I still do. However, it didn't happen. So now you're dealing with that reality, that, okay, well, it didn't happen. I thought the time was right. I still do feel that way. As far as 2020 goes, it's too late. It's too late now. We're not going to have a new party in this country anytime soon. Had Bernie said yes back then, we might be having a completely different conversation, but he didn't. So, you know, he can only coulda, woulda, shoulda so much. He didn't say yes. And no other prominent politician said yes either. And I do know that the Democratic Party will not get us out of this mess. It's going to take movements outside of electoral politics. And when we talk about this on the show, it's going to take strikes. It's going to take unification in labor. It's going to take protests. It's going to take task force. It's going to take local coalitions. All those things are outside of electoral politics, and all those things are absolutely necessary to move forward. And what is one of the bigger things in stifling those types of movements? When you smear progressives as reds. When you give these McCarthyite smears to progressives who are just trying to foster a movement that this country needs. We didn't get the New Deal just because FDR felt like giving it to everybody. Just because he's like, I feel like being a nice guy. We got the New Deal because they were afraid. Because FDR had to go to his rich friends and be like, look, you're either going to give up a little bit or you're going to give up all of it. Because there's a big-ass labor movement in this country, and they're pissed. And they ain't going to take this shit anymore. So we're doing something, and we're doing it quick. And he did. And no one said, how are we going to pay for that? Because they knew they were going to figure that part out. So that's what we're dealing with now. And for Bernie to make it out of a primary, for Bernie and or Tulsi to make it out of a primary, we have to have a movement so big that it can't be stifled, that it can't be ignored. That it shows up at the ballot box so big that it just can't be halted. And I do think that is possible, but just showing up to the ballot box alone is not anywhere close to enough. It's going to take a lot more than that. And even Bernie Sanders acknowledges that. He's like, look, this is a movement that we started. He knows it's a movement. He knows that it's bigger than him. And he's the face of it, whether he wanted to be or not. I don't know if he really wanted. I mean, maybe he didn't. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming he did. You know, he did run for president, and he's running again. So, but the smears are going to come. They already have. No sooner had he announced that Huffington Post put that out. And again, the title is Bernie's running for president in 2020, and that's all they want to highlight. Hey, he's old. There were issues within his campaign. There were sexual harassment claims in his campaign. He's disconnected from people of color. All those smears they throw out there against Bernie. That's all they had to say about it. And you know what? I saw this ABC interview with Bernie, and I was just cheering at it because the interviewer asked him, Howard Schultz. And what the person wanted to do was they wanted to make sure Bernie wasn't going to divide the Democrats. There's that smear too. He divides the Democrats, even though he basically gave the Democrats a winning platform, and they still stifle him, marginalize him, and ignore him anyway. And then they pretend to take up that platform. Isn't it interesting that all of the Democrats that want to be in the White House in 2020 try to mirror the guy that we were all told couldn't win? Isn't that interesting? I posted that on social media over a year ago, still relevant today. Isn't that fascinating? The guy that we were all told couldn't win? That's who all the 2020 candidates try to be like. Well, except for Amy and Howard Schultz. They're trying to be there. We're going to tell you all the stuff you can't have. And neither of them are going to go anywhere. And anyway, the ABC person asked Bernie, they were like, hey, if someone else, Howard Schultz says he wouldn't run. He wouldn't run as an independent if the Democrats nominate a centrist. And I know what they wanted to ask. They were like, are you going to make sure that the Democratic Party is in unity? Will you not run as a centrist if you don't, will you not run as an independent if you don't make it out of the primary? I know that was what they were trying to get at. Like asking Bernie, would he do this? Would he do that? Would he do? And Bernie just cut the guy off. And he goes, well, isn't that nice of Howard Schultz? Hey, why are we listening to Howard Schultz? Why is Howard Schultz on all of your programs? Why is Howard Schultz given any time of day? I'll tell you why, because he's a billionaire. Bernie said it right to that plutocrat corporate media oligarch's face. And it was beautiful. And how backwards is it that we live in a country where certain politicians hold the media accountable and the media doesn't hold anyone accountable? How scary is that? Where we live in a country where politicians have to hold the media accountable and not the other way around. And it's because we have a corporate media structure that should be illegal. It shouldn't be legal for institutions that have no business being in news, that have nothing to do with news and information, to own and control the media. It should be labeled PR because that's what it is. MSNBC is not a news organization. It is a PR organization for Comcast. Fox News is just Rupert Murdoch's PR wet dream. CNN has no business. They don't want to be in news. Jeff Zucker. I live in Los Angeles. CNN is just considered another outlet where you can pitch something not even news related. And they've had some great not news shows. Anthony Bourdain stuff. Really cool stuff. W. Kamau Bell doing some really cool stuff. I mean, CNN has some great program. It's not news. I mean, they're just another network. They just happen to have news in their name for some reason because they do, they do bullshit propaganda, past office news for some of their programming. So you have 3 cable news organizations that aren't news at all, and furthermore have no business being in news and information. It'd be fine if they were just networks and we had an actual news structure in this country. We don't. We just don't have a news structure. Talk to people from other countries that live here. Like talk to people, like just hear what they'll have to say. I mean, I've mentioned this before on the show. There's a friend of my fiance. She's from Canada. She's not a big news junkie, but she pays attention. She's well-read, whatever. She says it. She's like, you guys, one of the things I noticed when I first moved here, you guys don't have news. Like, you just don't do that here. People from other countries will notice that about, like, to them, they see it. Because the general person that comes from a country that has an actual news structure, they see that. They're like, oh, you guys just don't have one. The United States just doesn't have a news structure. We don't. We don't. There's some great journalists that live here. And most of them have to find their own way via self-funding or something like that, because there's no actual news structure to employ those types of people. Your only options are these corporate institutions that aren't really news and information. And when your main priority is preserving the status quo, the first thing you're going to do to a movement is try to stifle it and try to trivialize it and marginalize it. That's what the corporate media has done to every single social movement in this country from the 60s until present day, probably even before the 60s. So I'm excited that Bernie Sanders announced, but we've got a long road ahead. And Bernie knows it. He said it himself. That's actually pretty much verbatim something he said earlier today. And it's going to take everything. It's going to take everything. It's going to take movements. It's going to take strikes. It's going to take task force. It's going to take coalitions. It's going to take alliances that involve activism, that involve issue-based task force, that involve people running for office at the local level. It's going to take all of that if we want to see someone like Bernie Sanders in the White House. And I think that the progressive powerhouses need to team up the best way that they can, because otherwise, I mean, the establishment's going to do everything they can to make sure that neither of them, Bernie, Tulsi, and if anyone else throws their hat in the ring, them too, don't make it out of a primary. All right, let's move on to some other issues, and then I'll go back to the chat. I know we have a lot to talk about today. And there's some reasons to be excited, but again, we got to realize how long the path's going to be. So pick a lane and let's do this thing. That's going to be my next t-shirt. Pick a lane and let's do this thing. I kind of like that. All right. Let's move on to a little bit of other news, and then, of course, we'll be talking about this more in the chat later, because it's a big thing today. So here's some kind of bummer stuff that's out by me. By the way, shout out to our sponsor, CT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. And also Microbinge, microbinge.com, a social media platform that's changing the way we do social media. A membership-driven, creator-curated social media platform, microbinge.com. Check it out. All right. Judge rules coal company can eliminate Kemmerer retirees' health care. This is according to a union contract. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Retired coal miners from Kemmerer. That's a weird place to... Kemmerer. Retired coal miners from Kemmerer. That's how you pronounce it. Likely lost their company health benefits Friday when a judge decided that Westmoreland Coal Company could eliminate retirement health care and a union contract in order to sell the coal mine to a Virginia businessman. These are retired people. They lost the benefits that they were promised by an employer, but not just any employer, but an employer that they put their health on the line for. These are people who worked in the coal mines. They put their health on the line. And now the benefits they were promised and retired, and believe me, I know, I can tell you, those people, they worked hard, and they worked long. Yeah, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania. I know people that were coal miners. I know people that still work in steel mills, because a few of them are actually still in operation. Most of them aren't. The majority of them aren't. Don't get me wrong. No, you mean Donald Trump was onto something when he said, no, he wasn't. It was completely bogus. There's like a couple operational ones. Most people don't even know where they are. It's like, it's like finding like, oh, holy shit. That's so, like, that's, yeah. People would ask me, they were like, what was it like growing up Around the stone, like they were all closed before I was born. Like 95% of them. There's like a few. Anyway, miners who had gone down to Texas to plead their case were disheartened by the ruling, but said they would continue fighting even if it led to a strike. So this is great. In the United States, you don't need to strike if you're a worker who's being mistreated. You need to strike if you fall into that court category, which is pretty much everybody. But turns out you might even need to strike after you fucking retire, because they might try to take more from you. They can't even just give you what you were guaranteed when you retire. They can't even give you that. They want to still fuck with you. These capitalist predators want to fuck with you until you're dead in the ground, and then they don't have to worry about you anymore. And then they might still try to fuck with you. I mean, if there's something that was promised to your estate and they can take it away, they're sure as fuck gonna try. Because they're criminals. All right. Westmoreland filed for bankruptcy in October. The Colorado Springs, Colorado-based firm is one of the oldest coal operators in the U.S. It had taken on more than $1 billion in debt when it filed for bankruptcy last year. So in order to sell the mine to new operators, Westmoreland has argued it must eliminate union agreements that affect the nearly 300 employees of the Western Wyoming mine, as well as obligations to retired miners and independents, many of whom still reside in the region. United Mine Workers of America had argued that responsibilities to employees and former miners of Kemmerer are protected in binding contracts. How much were the CEOs of this company making? How much were they making? What hit did they take to sell this company? What did they have to sacrifice? Did they take a pay cut too? Let's see if the article tells us. It's a story of Wall Street versus the average person that fully expected. This is a quote here. They were going to have a certain percent pension and certain health package, said Clark, whose business ventures long-term coal mining takes on the body means long-term health concerns, he said. When you're 55, you feel like you're 70. But despite the voiced sympathy with the miners, Clark is adamant that he will not pay. Wow! So this is a quote from the dude buying it. Okay, so here, this is the guy who's buying this mine. He goes, it's a story of Wall Street versus the average person that fully expected after putting a lifetime of work into the mine that they were going to have a certain pension and a certain health package. And he acknowledges that this takes a lot of toll on your body. When you're 55, you feel like you're 70. But despite this voiced sympathy with the miners, as a buyer of the Kemmerer assets, Clark is adamant that he will not pay. Holy shit. This is how soulless these people are. Yeah, it's really a drag. The workers got screwed over big time. They worked really hard for like all their lives, and it's so hard on their body, and they were just guaranteed these basic benefits, and now they're not getting them. Ooh, are you going to do something about it? You're buying the mine. No, I'm not. Fuck them. Holy shit. This is the U.S. This is the U.S. Still not convinced it's a broken system? Still convinced capitalism can be saved? Still convinced there's an ethical capitalism? There's a humane There's not. It's not designed to do that. We need an overhaul of this system. And you can still have markets without capitalism. There's market-based socialism. This entire system, every time capitalism has been experimented with in human history, it gets to a point where it leads to just extreme famine, death, and destruction. And then it gets this corrective, and then it just gets, because it's designed to do that. Is there a way we can ethically employ? No, there's not. There isn't. Period. So this is what happens to people. And I'm sure I bet there's people at the top. The article doesn't bring it up. There's probably people at the top that made out like bandits after all this happened, that sold this and made out like bandits. And the employees didn't see a dime. Workers are under attack in the United States. And we need a mass general strike. I don't know how to start that, but I know we need it. So here's a follow-up on a story we've been following in Illinois. Pritzker is expected to sign the $15 an hour minimum wage bill today. This is breaking news today, Tuesday. Governor J.B. Pritzker is expected to sign legislation to increase the state's minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025 today, the day before making his first budget address to the Illinois General Assembly. The plan, known as the Senate Bill 1, would bump the $8.25 an hour rate to $9.25 on January 1st, after moving to $10 on July 2020, would increase $1 each January 1st until 2025. Pritzker's office said he is scheduled to sign the bill at the governor's mansion today. House lawmakers voted 69-41 last week. Business groups have fiercely opposed the measure, saying it will hurt small businesses. Too bad. If you can't afford to pay an employee a living wage, you don't get an employee. Pritzker must make room for the budget for the increase. The government will have to finance increased wages for thousands of university students who make minimum wage and on-campus jobs, or workers for healthcare institutions funded by Medicaid. His office released figures this month on the cost to the government of the hike. In 2021, the state would face $269 million in additional costs. There would be, okay. All right. So there you go. They're going to sign it into effect. Of course, by 2025, $15 an hour will not go as far as it does today. But in most of these bills, there's cost of living increases. So this will do a lot to end the insane wage gap that we have in this country. So this is a good thing. This is good news. And hopefully this is just the start of something. You know, the goal is that, you know, you get living wages on the federal level and they include cost of living increases so that we get it up to living wages as soon as absolutely possible. We never should have been in this mess. We never should have been in this mess ever. The fact that we just, you know, what happened in the short term of it is unions slowly but surely lost all their power and in some cases even became corrupted themselves. Workers lost all their power and the wage gap just got bigger and bigger and bigger and wages didn't keep up with inflation at all. And it got to this point. And now we're digging ourselves out of this mess. And even though this legislation is a step in a better direction, it's a good step, it's still probably not going to be a living wage by 2025. So hopefully there's cost of living increases built within this, or there will be. Because if they just stop it at 15 and then it's just 15 for however long, well, gee, it won't be long until that's the equivalent to $8.25 today. So some good news in Illinois. Still got a long way to go. And again, to bring it back to a little bit of power in the people here, this would not have happened if workers in Chicago weren't striking constantly last year. The hotel strike in Chicago dealt a big blow to the economy. They needed those workers. So they met them. And now we're seeing legislation at the state level. Strikes are contagious and strikes work. And they're necessary. So let me go to you guys, see what you guys are saying. We got a lot to talk about today. That's how we'll end the show today. Yeah. Right? Huh? Something. Celeste says, when Tom Perez robs Bernie's nomination, he can back Tulsi. Well, she's got to make it out, too. She's got to make it out of the primary, too. Darren says, I love Lucy as a green candidate. Lucy and Brownie need to run. Peter Lavelle. Oh, so you're saying that Peter had his dogs on his show. Man, okay. I didn't hear about that, Darren. But I gotta say, to my knowledge, according to some of the producers, The first animal to appear on Crosstalk was, in fact, Lucy. I was doing Crosstalk, and I was doing it from here, and Lucy jumped up on the table, and everybody was like, "It's a cat." Even Peter laughed. I always get stoked when I make Peter laugh. But Peter laughed. He got a kick out of it, and then Lucy just hung out there next to the mic for the entire segment. You can find that segment online. Now, to my knowledge, she was first. I don't know. Maybe Peter had his dog on before that, but I was told that Lucy was the first animal to make an appearance on Crosstalk. And over on my Patreon, Lucy wrote a comic about it. Lucy had a dialogue about her television appearance, her first television appearance. It's out there, Karen. There's an episode of Crosstalk. Lucy does make an appearance. And I was told she was the first. I don't know. I mean, it's Peter's show. I don't want to argue with Peter. I mean, but I was told. I love animals. How can you not? I shared something on Twitter yesterday. Why do we have to pick between cats and dogs? Why do we have to pick? That'll be a topic. That'll be a fun day topic. That'll be like, sometimes on Thursday we do a light topic. That's going to be a topic I bring up. So I'm going to say, why do we have to pick? We don't have to. You can be, no, I have cats because I travel a lot. Cats are easier for me to have. So I have Lucy. She's my companion. I love having cats. But I like cats and dogs. I don't pick. I love them both. I used to be a pet sitter. I used to do that. Honestly, I still would if I had any time to. But when I first moved to Los Angeles, that was something I did on the side to help pay the bills. Yeah, man, sometimes I think about my animals, like sometimes I think about, I miss them. I miss them a lot. I really do. I thought about volunteering at the kennel down the street, like just an hour a week, just volunteering to walk. You know what? I'm going to do that. Hold me to it. Hold me to it. I need you guys to remind me. Hold me to that. Because I've been saying it for a while that I want to go volunteer. There's a good shelter down the street. It's a no-kill shelter. They do good work. It's a good humane society. They take care of a lot of animals, cats and dogs. And I've been saying for a while, you know what? I should just walk down the hill. Just be like, hey, I don't know what it takes to do this, but I want to just, just like an hour a week. I'd love to just walk some dogs for you. I'd love to do that. How can I do that? And, I'll see what they say. They'll probably be like, we need your blood, and you need to pass this background check, and we Googled you, actually, and we're not interested in having you. That's what's going to happen. All right. So, let's see. Mooskow, Ron, now that Bernie is running, what do we do about Tulsi? Again, I'm hoping they team up. I'm hoping that they team up. And, again, optics-wise, I think that Tulsi Prez, Bernie VP would be the strongest thing. And again, I'm saying that right now. There's still a long season. Tulsi might slip up. Bernie might slip up. Who knows? So 4 or 5 months from now, I might not feel that. I might be like, you know what? I think Bernie should be Nina Nina or Tulsi VP. Either way, I'm a supporter. Either way, I mean, if Bernie's Prez, Tulsi's VP, I'm supporting it. If Tulsi's Prez, Bernie's VP, I'm supporting it. If Nina's in the mix somewhere, I'm supporting it. Those are 3 people I am happy to support. Nina Turner, Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders. So again, I'm hoping they team up because we need, I hate to say we need to unite because that's a thing that centrists really kind of, that's kind of their rallying cry. But, the truth is, the Democratic establishment is going to do everything in their power to make sure a progressive does not make it out of the primary. They're going to do everything in their power. So we need to have the strongest foot forward we possibly can. I mean, that's just the reality. I don't see how it's going to happen any other way. And like I said, it's going to take a bit of everything. Fred says, Lucy 2020, Tulsi as VP. I could get behind that. Moose Gal, yes, we just did the minimum wage story. We just did the Illinois minimum wage story. You missed it. Chris says, I think Tulsi is humble enough to step down and give her delegates to Bernie if he's leading the way. I think she is too. Absolutely. And I think reverse the roles. I think it could happen the other way around. I think both of them know what's at stake. I really do. Where is the cat today, bro? All right. I'll get the cat. C-Card. Ron, can you get on Joe Rogan? I would love to be on Joe Rogan. And seriously, I'm not kidding. If that's something you want to see, please tweet at Joe Rogan, or there's a spot on his website where you can submit guest suggestions. Please feel free to recommend me. I would love to do Joe Rogan. And that really does go into how they pick people. If people request a certain person, they do look into it. So please, if that's something you want to see, C-Card, you don't have to have Twitter. You can go right to Joe Rogan's website. They have a place where you can recommend people. So please. 555, what are your thoughts on Yang? What I've heard from him, I've liked some of it. I think that to do what he's trying to do, you really need to be an outsider in every step of the word. I don't think he's that guy. You know, he has a lot of that whole, like, we can do capitalism the right way. And I don't think that type of messaging, and I don't mean particularly using the word capitalism per se, but just the type of messaging he has. I mean, I think the fact that he's making UBI his main thing, I think that's something that could be picked apart fairly easily. I like him. I mean, everything I've heard from him in interviews, he seems like a good dude. He seems like he has some really good ideas. But as far as this, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm running for president, I'm an outsider, I think that we can do capitalism the right way, and I want to do a big UBI. That's my big platform, a UBI to everybody. I think that's going to easily be picked apart. I think that to do what he's trying to do, you really need to have some really out-of-the-box messaging. And I don't know exactly what would win, but I don't think it's quite what he's got. So yeah, that's those are my thoughts on him. Still learning about him too, but that's kind of how I feel about him. I don't think he really, so I don't think he really has a shot for those reasons. I think what he's trying to do could be done. I don't think it's impossible. But, going to his website, hearing what I've heard so far, I don't think he would do that. And Tim says this, Yang is a Schultz with fewer sociopathic ideations. I do think, even though politically he is different from Howard Schultz, I think that people would make that association. That it's like, well, this is a businessman who thinks he can take us in a certain direction. And I don't think they're going to bite for it, especially with how grossly unpopular Howard Schultz is. They're going to kind of lump him in with that. So I think messaging-wise, I don't think Yang has what it takes. And I think just saying UBI, and I do favor UBI, but just saying UBI isn't enough. You also need to have rent control along with the UBI. You need to have more protections for consumers along with the UBI. Otherwise, that UBI will be rendered worthless real quick. So, So those are my thoughts on that. And my thoughts as a whole, if we don't have the strongest unified step forward as progressives, which I think is Tulsi and Bernie teaming up, we don't have a shot at being so big they can't stifle us. That's what I think. And guys, we are totally out of time. As I scratch my head, I had an itch right at that moment. Right at the moment of being like, oh, we got to end the show. I was like, shit, I got this going on. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this. Remember, it's going to take everything. Pick a lane and get started. Boom. I'm going to go walk some dogs. That's my lane. But no, seriously, I'm not even kidding. Your lane could be volunteering a couple hours a week at an animal shelter. It could be helping out the homeless in your community. It could be trying to fight for municipal internet in your community. It could be joining up with Bernie's campaign or Tulsi's. But we got to throw everything we can at this thing, you know. Oh, and Doug, thank you. Doug just shared in the chat the Joe Rogan part on his website where you can recommend people. Hey, if you want to see me on that show, please recommend me. That would be a huge thing you could do for me. I appreciate it very, very much. And yeah, I appreciate that so much. Because, yeah, I would love to go on Joe Rogan. I absolutely would, so thank you for that. And if you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/RonPlacone. You get a ton of exclusive perks. You get free content, including my album, and you help keep this show on the air. You help me upgrade equipment. You help me do longer streams. I want to stream more, but I can't right now, but I want to stream more. So please, if you can, if you got an extra $1 a month, Patreon.com/RonPlacone. For you give what you can level, you get all kinds of cool stuff. Guys, tour dates. I'm going to be in the Gulf next month. Grab your tickets. I'm going to be in New Orleans, Louisiana. I can't wait to see you in New Orleans. I'm going to be in Pensacola, Florida, Oxford, Mississippi. Never performed in Mississippi before. I'm stoked. And Lafayette, Louisiana. Tickets are available for all those shows at ronplacone.com. Tickets are also available for our Texas tour in April. All those dates are with Graham Elwood, the political vigilante. We're going to be in the Gulf in March. We're going to be in Texas in April. We're going to be in Salt Lake City and Boise in May. And June, we're going to the East Coast. And Boston and Philadelphia just got confirmed. Tickets for both Boston and Philadelphia are going to be available today. And, of course, we're coming to New York City. We're coming to New Haven, Connecticut. We're coming to Baltimore. We're coming to Washington, D.C. Right? You stoked? I'm stoked. Guys, thank you so much for being part of this. I will be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. Thank you guys for being awesome. You're the best executive producers in the business because you guys executive produce this show. You rule. I'll see you tomorrow. Let's do this thing. Let's frickin' do this thing. The revolution can't wait. Let's do it.